Okay, so welcome back to the diplomacy series. And I hope you enjoyed the first video in this series when it talked about about the importance of diplomacy and how it works and really what you need to know as the kingdom diplomat. Now, in this episode, we're going to talk a little bit more in depth and detail of what really that takes, because there's so much involved with it, and the dynamic is definitely unique and different to every kingdom and, well, person. They want to manage it a little bit different, then so be it. And in this video, we're going to talk about that dynamic and how it works and how you can apply it to your kingdom. So stick around and enjoy the ride. Now we're going to look into how Kingdom Overview really works and kind of where you're going to go with when looking at these kingdoms. Because now that we really understand like what you're looking for, there's other things you should also keep in mind. As we talk about like kingdom track history and seeing how well they did in previous KVKs, it's going to be a little bit more difficult the way that they have this listed out, but you can actually see and do research, and you can put their kingdom number and find out where they are currently. And you can go into kingdom discords and see where they were before, where they've been, really more about their history, because knowing these kingdoms' history is really important, because we need to know what happened. Did they do massive migrations? Did they do a lot of people leave? How does their territory look? And where are they building to? And if you're in the middle of like the newest season of conquest, it's really hard to get that kind of information because there's so many kingdoms. I mean, here's all the kingdoms currently waiting to be looked at in season of conquest. Now there's so many different kingdoms. It would take you forever to get through every single one. That's why it's important to look like at discords and ask around, see if they've done anything on how they've done in the past, and that way you can really take a look at how these kingdoms are doing overall. Now in other seasons, like season 3, 2, and 1 is pretty simple because it's just the kingdoms on your continent, so you can look in the preparation stage and see those. Then you can see in season 2. Season 2 is the same thing as season 3. It's going to be the same kind of continents. Like there may be like 5 to 8 continents in that bracket, so that way it's going to be a smaller selection, but there's still a lot more because you may only be fighting a couple of those. Season 2, it's ranked from like strongest to weakest, so you can see other kingdoms that may be around your power, but you need to gather that information. So in order to do so, you may have to create accounts in these kingdoms and do that research and go in depth in figuring out. But when you're surveying the kingdom, though, there's a lot of stuff that you may not know, like how active they are. Do they do kingdom buffs? Do they send kingdom mails? That's why it's good to kind of know if you know people who are in these kingdoms, or you just ask. Like if you see an alliance that's burning, like, hey, what happened? Why are they burning? And you can kind of get a good kingdom history. And like I said, that history will really kind of follow them. But if it's under the same leadership, then you can kind of see where that history came from, and it's pretty much going to stay somewhat similar to that. But if they're under new leadership and new management, that's really going to change on how that kingdom looks, because they may have, some people sell their kingdoms. It's not really authorized or allowed, but people do, and then a bunch of new people take over, and that's like how it is. Some people use kingdoms that are dead and specifically let them stay dead, and they don't increase their power, and they use it to farm MGEs, and I've actually seen that before, which is very weird, but it happens. But knowing their history will help you overall, and really help benefit knowing more about them, and that might be hard for you to get. So use your sources, network, talk to people, ask around, see if anybody has heard about them. If they have recruitment pages, check Facebook. Facebook's huge, and they have so many things there. Twitter may not so much. Reddit's a good choice. There's so many different avenues and so many places you can look to see what information you can get from these kingdoms. All right, and the next topic is communication. And communication is probably the biggest piece of being a diplomat. And I probably could do a whole video on this, but I figured I'd just tied it with some other stuff. But communication is really key to your kingdom, because if you have really crappy communication and you can't talk to other people, either you're rude and you're immature and you act out and you don't actually talk with good structure and good points, and you don't show them the light to other directions and different avenues, you're going to be kind of stuck. Because talking to people with different personalities and different ethnicities and different cultures, it's really unique, because that's part of the reason why I love doing it. I like being exposed to the different languages and the aspects of it, and learning how different cultures act in kingdoms, because based on their king might be Arabic and they have a completely different culture in the Arabic community on how they act and how they respect others. It's really unique. And same thing with, Koreans have their own, and Chinese and Americans, and then the Europeans, different ethnicities and different backgrounds will really change the dynamic on how you approach people. So if you're not really approachable and you're just rude and immature in chats, the other people see that. And do they really think that they're going to let someone who's acting like that to be a part of their allies or kingdom? Because they may be afraid that you might act out, or you might be too aggressive, or you might do something that will jeopardize the way that they're maybe doing something. So communication with the other kingdoms is top priority. And being as it's in the early KVKs, the kingdoms are much smaller. The amount of kingdoms that you communicate with are much smaller. But in the cases like Heroic Anthem, there's like 20 of y'all on a map. I mean, we're not just Heroic Anthem, just Season of Conquest. There's so many of y'all there, and that's a lot of communication. Well, you must have communication issues with other kingdoms because they speak different languages. Well, that's good to have someone who's a diplomat that may speak those other dialects, or they know someone in their kingdom that can provide that middle ground between the two dialects. And one might speak Arabic, you might speak English, and you have somebody in the middle that speaks both. That way they can kind of interpret what you're saying to them, and that may mean one thing and may mean another to you, and back and forth. And that makes it so much easier. But having these chats, like I'm going to show you now the list of my chats. Okay, so as you can see here, I have so many chats. I've got the ones with our allies next to us. We have our R4, R5 chat. We have 40 and 74 because we share zone 6 with them. We have the R4 chat for the kingdom. We have a family chat that is a good communication between all the alliance members in one chat. We have 76 and 74 chat because we got a peace deal with 76, so we had to create a chat for that. We have the ally chat. We have a chat with 74 and 45 and 40, which is 45 is an enemy kingdom and 74 and 40 are together in the same zone. So it's really interesting to see that I have so many chats, and this is like really only a small piece of a lot of the chats that I've had before, but it really shows you that these chats are really important. But there's other communication methods. Some of you might have WeChat, or you may have other chats like Line Chat, which is another really good app that a lot of Asians and Chinese players have, because I actually downloaded that app for them. A lot of people use WhatsApp or Discord, right? A lot of people, gamers, use Discord. There's so many different ways that you can use to communicate with the other allies or the enemies, or however you want to put it, really anybody. And having that communication is extremely, extremely, extremely important. I cannot stress that enough. And you need to always remember, the way you talk in chat and you text back and forth is going to be articulated different than what you actually mean. So you always need to be as specific as possible, because screenshots can be taken of chats, which can be used either for you or against you. So always being careful of what you say in chat, making sure that you know exactly what you're saying and how you say it. And I know in the past I had an issue with that, where sometimes things I said did not get my point across correctly and it got confused and misinterpreted. I record every single Discord meeting I have with my kingdom and I share it. And I make sure that they have availability to it so that they know what's going on and they can replay it later. And because somebody might say something in chat and be like, she didn't say that. Yes, she did. Go check out her video that she did on it. It's in our Kingdom Discord. So then that way, people kind of know like really what you're saying. Because when you say something over voice, it's going to be different than how someone interpreted something over text message. Think about it like that, right? So always think that you're talking to somebody, that you're actually physically talking to them, and not like you assume that you think you're talking to them. That all is going to help. And I really hope that you're going to take that information and really put it forth to how you're going to develop your kingdom and really how the communication between you, your leadership, the allies, the enemies, and how you want to, what your goal is, where you want to go and what you want to do, all of that. You need to take it, share it with your allies, share it with your kingdom, because they need to know what's going on. And as that single point of contact, you are the one everyone's going to look at and point fingers at and blame. You need to be understood that, look, sometimes you're going to make a mistake. And guess what? It sucks. It really does. It really does suck. But you need to learn from your mistakes. Someone who doesn't learn from their mistakes is someone that's not going to succeed. Okay? Learning from your mistakes and trying to make them as minimal as possible is really important. Okay? And I really hope you guys can kind of take that, and I'm trying to really focus and tell you guys, like, look, pay attention to these things. So, but that's going to cover the communication part. But I'm sorry if you have to be in thousands of chats. Just get used to it. It's going to happen. And your phone's going to be flooded with screenshots and downloads. It's okay. It's totally normal to have thousands of Rise of Kingdom photos on your phone. It's fine. But anyways, that's going to wrap it up for this video. Thank you so much for paying attention and kind of sitting through this long, drawn-out talk about communication and about serving other kingdoms. Because those two things are going to be really important because your kingdom relies on you. You are the one, or you might be helping those that are being a diplomat for the first time. This is a lot of really important information I hope you can share and just really take in and understand. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to drop a like on this video and subscribe to see content like this. I really enjoy making this kind of content for you guys, and if you have any tips for anyone who's struggling with the communication or how to survey kingdoms and really look in a deep dive, drop it in the comments below and I'll pin the ones that work the best and drop comments on them as well. But that's it for me, guys. So for now, just keep it real.